The playbook nobody gave you. Here is an uncomfortable thought: right now, somewhere in your life, there is a decent chance someone is running a script on you. Not a computer script, a psychological one. A sequence of moves designed to get your time, your money, your compliance, or your silence, without ever asking for it honestly. Manipulation works precisely because most people have never seen the playbook. The manipulator has studied you, you have never studied them. That ends today. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to walk through every major manipulation tactic, not as abstract psychology, but as concrete moves you can name the moment you see them. Because naming is the whole game. A manipulation that has been named out loud loses most of its power, like a magic trick after the magician explains it. You cannot unsee it, and you cannot be smoothly moved by it. One promise before we start: this is a defense manual, not an offense manual. The goal is not to turn you into a manipulator. It is to make you the worst possible target, the person the script simply does not work on. Chapter 1: The Reality Distorters. The first family of tactics attacks your perception of reality itself. If a manipulator can make you doubt what you saw, heard, and felt, they never have to argue with you again, you will argue with yourself on their behalf. The flagship here is gaslighting. Gaslighting is the systematic denial of your experience, that never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You're too sensitive, I was joking. Done once, it is just a lie. Done repeatedly, it retrains you to distrust your own memory and defer to theirs. The tell is the pattern: your recollections are always wrong, and always wrong in the direction that benefits them. Close behind is rewriting history. Unlike gaslighting, which denies events, rewriting reframes them. The insult becomes honesty. The broken promise becomes, you misunderstood what I committed to. The screaming match becomes, a discussion that you escalated. Over months, the shared past becomes their version of the past. Then there is the fog of confusion, deliberate inconsistency. Rules that change without notice. Warmth on Monday, coldness on Wednesday, no explanation for either. Confusion is not a side effect, it is the point. A confused person becomes compliant, because compliance feels like the only stable ground. How to disarm reality distorters: externalize your memory. Keep notes, keep messages, keep dates. Not to win courtroom arguments, to protect your own mind. When someone says, "that never happened," and your notes say it did, the spell breaks. And adopt one iron rule: anyone who repeatedly tells you that your accurate memories are wrong is not confused. They are working. Chapter 2: The Emotion Hijackers. The second family does not bother with your perception. It goes straight for your feelings, because a person flooded with emotion cannot think strategically. Guilt tripping is the workhorse: after everything I've done for you, I guess I just don't matter. The mechanics are simple: manufacture a debt, then collect on it. Note that the debt is rarely one you agreed to. They did you a favor you never requested, and now the invoice arrives. Love bombing is guilt's glamorous cousin. In the early phase of a relationship, romantic, professional, or even a friendship, you are flooded with attention, praise, gifts, and declarations that feel almost too intense. That intensity is the tell. Love bombing builds an emotional debt and a dependency at high speed, so that when the demands begin, you feel obligated and afraid to lose the magic. Fear and intimidation round out the set, sometimes overt, more often microdosed: the sigh, the slammed cabinet, the sudden cold tone that makes everyone in the room walk on eggshells. The threat is never stated, which is exactly why you cannot confront it. And do not forget pity plays. The permanent victim recruits you as a rescuer. Their crises are endless, their problems are unsolvable, and every solution you offer is met with, "yes, but." A person in genuine trouble accepts help and moves forward. A pity player needs the trouble, because the trouble is what keeps you attached. How to disarm emotion hijackers. Install a delay. Strong sudden emotion, guilt, fear, infatuation, pity, should trigger one automatic response: I'll get back to you. Emotion is a weather system, it passes. Any request that cannot survive a few hours of waiting was not a request. It was an ambush. Chapter 3: The Pressure Machines. The third family manipulates the conditions of the decision rather than the decision itself. Artificial urgency: I need an answer right now. This offer expires today. Urgency exists to disable your thinking. Real opportunities usually survive a night's sleep, manufactured ones evaporate under examination, which is why you are not allowed to examine them. The foot in the door: small request, then bigger still. Each step is only slightly larger than the last, so there is never an obvious place to say no. By the time the requests are outrageous, refusing feels inconsistent with everything you have already agreed to. The door in the face, its mirror image. An absurdly large request you are sure to refuse, followed by the reasonable request they wanted all along. Your relief at the smaller ask does the persuading for them. Triangulation, pressure through third parties. Everyone agrees with me. Even your mother thinks you're overreacting. Real or invented, the crowd is summoned to make your position feel isolated and abnormal. And the silent treatment, pressure through absence. Withdrawal of contact as punishment, until you crack and apologize for something you often cannot even name. How to disarm pressure machines: slow everything down and make the pressure itself the topic. Why does this need to be decided this minute? Let's ask everyone directly, together. Pressure tactics are like vampires, they do not survive daylight. The moment you calmly describe the pressure out loud, it stops working, because it only ever worked in the dark. Chapter 4: The Identity Sculptors. The most sophisticated family does not push you toward a decision. It reshapes who you think you are, so that you push yourself. Flattery with a hook: you're the only one I can trust with this. You're not like the others, you actually understand. The compliment builds a flattering identity, and then the request arrives that this identity cannot refuse. Refusing would mean not being that wonderful person anymore. Shame sculpting works in reverse: I didn't expect this from you. A good son wouldn't say that. Your self-image is taken hostage, compliance is the ransom. Comparison and competition: my ex never had a problem with this. Your colleague stays late without complaining. You are quietly enrolled in a contest you never entered, running to win approval that keeps moving. And playing the martyr: don't worry about me, I'll manage somehow, delivered with a sigh calibrated to be heard. The martyr never asks directly, they perform suffering until you volunteer. That way, everything you give was your idea, and nothing can ever be renegotiated. How to disarm identity sculptors: separate your worth from your compliance. Try this sentence, out loud if necessary: I can be a good person and still say no. A manipulator's entire leverage in this family is the fusion of those two things. Unfuse them, and the hook comes out clean. You can accept a compliment and decline the request attached to it, the two are not a package deal. Chapter 5: The Aftermath Managers. Finally, the tactics deployed when you resist or when you catch them. DARVO: deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. You raise a grievance, they deny it happened, attack your character for raising it, and end the conversation as the injured party while you apologize. If you have ever walked out of a confrontation somehow feeling guilty for being wronged, you have met DARVO. Whataboutism and topic shifting: your point is never answered, only relocated. What about that time you? 2 hours later, the original issue has vanished under a pile of counter-accusations. The non-apology: I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry, but you made me do it. The grammar of apology without the substance: no acknowledgement, no responsibility, no change. And hoovering, after distance or a breakup with a manipulative person, the sudden return, nostalgia, promises, tears, the person you first met briefly reappearing. Named after the vacuum cleaner, because its purpose is to suck you back in. How to disarm aftermath managers. Hold the line on one topic. Write down your original point before the conversation if you must, and return to it like a broken record. We can discuss that separately. Right now, the promise you broke on Tuesday. And evaluate apologies by one metric only: changed behavior. Words are free, patterns are evidence. Chapter 6, the 60-second field checklist. Before we close, let's compress everything into a tool you can run in real time, mid-conversation, in under a minute. When an interaction feels wrong but you cannot say why, ask yourself these 5 questions. 1. Is my picture of reality being edited? If you are being told that things you clearly remember did not happen, or happened differently, you are in Chapter 1. Trust the record, not the narrator. 2. Am I feeling a sudden, intense emotion that this situation does not objectively justify? Crushing guilt over a small refusal, panic over a routine decision, dizzy infatuation on day 3, imported emotion is Chapter 2. Name the feeling, then park it for a few hours. 3. Is there a clock on this decision that I did not put there? Deadlines, expiring offers, answer me now, that is Chapter 3. Anything real survives until tomorrow. 4. Is my identity suddenly part of the negotiation? If being a good person, a real friend, or a true professional now requires one specific action chosen by someone else, you are in Chapter 4. Your character is not a bargaining chip. 5. Did I come in with a grievance and somehow end up apologizing? That inversion is Chapter 5, and it is the single most reliable alarm in this entire article. 1 yes is a caution light. 2 or more is a pattern, and patterns deserve distance, witnesses, and a very slow yes, or a fast, clean no. Conclusion: the person the script doesn't work on. Run back through what you now know. Distortion of reality, beaten by records and self-trust. Emotional flooding, beaten by the pause. Pressure, beaten by slowness and daylight. Identity sculpting, beaten by unhooking your worth from your compliance. Aftermath management, beaten by focus and by judging actions, not words. Notice what is not on the list: cruelty, paranoia, or revenge. You do not defeat manipulation by becoming harder and colder than the manipulator. You defeat it by becoming clearer. Manipulation is a technology of fog, it needs confusion, urgency, and self-doubt to operate. Your defense is not a wall, it is a light. One last reframe. People who learn this material sometimes feel a wave of grief. How much of my life was someone else's script? Let that feeling become fuel rather than bitterness. Every tactic you can now name is a door that no longer opens from the outside. The people who loved you honestly lose nothing when you gain these skills. Honest people never needed the fog in the first place. The only relationships this knowledge will cost you are the ones that were never what they claimed to be. And that is not a loss. That is the first honest accounting of your life, and from here on, you are the one holding the pen.